It's an honor to be here the day after the debate. I can't say it's been an easy day, but anything beats getting up under those hot lights with John King as your inquisitor. For those who, can I ask a question before I start? How many people watched the debate last night? That's good, that's good. I wasn't expecting, they said that the ratings, overnight ratings weren't out of this world, but it's an opportunity for us. I don't put too much stake in the debates in a race like this because I think people generally are like yourselves, you're busy. 7 o'clock at night is maybe a little bit too early to be watching people talk about politics, and there's still 6 weeks to go in the campaign, and many people don't make up their minds or get focused on a race until the end. For those of you who remember, not too long ago, Mr. Scott Brown, who was unknown, untested, and never run statewide before, was 37 points down in his race against Martha Coakley with a little less than a month to go. And he turned that thing around, and she helped him turn that thing around, and he is now a United States Senator from Massachusetts. So anything can happen in races, and one of the turning points for him was a debate, which I don't know if it was widely watched, but certainly widely reported when he made his famous statement that the seat that he was running for did not belong to Ted Kennedy or anyone, didn't belong to the Democratic Party, it belonged to the people. I'm not trying to copy Scott Brown, but I'm going to hopefully make a similar type statement in the way that this race is shaping up, and I want you to know, and I want the people of Massachusetts to know that the governor's office doesn't belong to any party either, Republican or Democrat, or any one person. It does belong to the people of Massachusetts, and the reason I'm running as an independent is to bring independent leadership and show people that we have to be creative and we have to look at solving problems differently if we're going to get out of this crisis. The two-party system has worked well in some areas, not so well in other areas for over 200 years, but it doesn't work well in crisis. It doesn't work well in crisis because people retreat back to their boxes or to their sides of the field. They fight it out, and generally speaking, they look at solving a problem in too narrow a fashion. And I'm not smart enough to solve a problem in a narrow fashion. I need good people around me. I need ideas that work on both sides of the aisle and that come from a wide variety of people. Because the challenges and the solutions are often very complex because you're dealing with a lot of different people with different ideas for solving problems. And sometimes, oftentimes, if a Republican comes up with a good idea, the Democrats automatically dismiss it. And when the Democrats come up with a good idea, the Republicans automatically dismiss it. And often the best ideas are a combination of the two. And I believe that, and that is how I have managed the Treasury for the last 7 years. That's how I have run my affairs for the last 23 years as an elected official. The fact of the matter is 348 of 351 cities and towns are run in a nonpartisan fashion, and we have nonpartisan elections all across the state of Massachusetts every year. That's how we elect mayors, that's how we elect selectmen, that's how we elected city councils, that's how I was elected for the first 12 years of my career. I never ran as a party person, because when you're running for city council, for selectmen, for mayor, you run as an individual. You may or may not have a party designation, but it doesn't really matter. And when you're elected to serve all the people of that community, not just a subset or not just a party. And that's why I believe local government works. It works much better than state government. It works even far better than federal government because we're not tied into those boxes. I've been a Democrat most of my life, although I originally had registered independent back in 1977 when I turned 18 and became a Democrat somewhat by accident because that's who I voted for. I voted Democrat early in my career, and in those days when you voted party, you became that party. You had to physically go change your registration. Now you automatically go back to becoming an independent if that's how you choose to vote. But that's how I believed people should look at leadership and should make their determination, is on the person. And I obviously have seen it over the last decade or two how more and more people are going in that direction. They're leaving the parties behind, unenrolling or declaring themselves independent, and then looking at the person. Scott Brown could not have been elected a Republican senator from Massachusetts had he only garnered Republican votes, because there's only 12% of the state made up of Republicans, declared Republicans. So it's not possible, and that's a reason why, and a goal, and one of the main reasons for his success. And I believe that's what we have to do in state government. It's more important. We have almost 9% unemployment. And when you break it down by region, although we are ahead of the rest of the country in some areas, or lower than the national unemployment rate, overall in Massachusetts, we exceed that unemployment rate in certain parts of the state, including this part of the state, the South Coast area. The city of Fall River, I believe, has almost 15% unemployment. The city of Worcester has 10% unemployment. So unemployment is a huge problem in this state. And the reason I'm running for governor is because I want to solve that problem. If I could define myself, which I will try to do, although Charlie Baker and Deval Patrick will try to define me differently, I would see myself as a problem solver, as a fixer, someone who tries to get to the root of a problem and then just will not give up until I solve it. And it doesn't matter whose idea it is, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle it comes from. What matters is that you can solve a problem and you've got a solution to that problem. I believe one of the solutions to the problems of unemployment is lower taxes. I'm not saying that because it's politically popular, although it is. Most people don't want to pay higher taxes. There are concerns out there by lowering taxes we will not be able to pay for government services. That is Governor Patrick's argument, that we will not be able to fulfill our commitment to government services, higher education being one of them, health and human services being the other. My philosophy is that if you lower taxes, though, and spur economic development, you'll bring in more revenue. People will spend more money. We brought in more revenue when we had a 5% sales tax than we're bringing in now at 6.25%, statewide, because people were spending money. When people are working, they're paying taxes. When they're not working, they're not paying taxes. In fact, instead of becoming givers to government, they become takers. They take unemployment, they take food stamps. I don't mean that in a negative way, that's just what happens. When I was 15 or 16 or 17 years old, my father lost his job. He went from having 2 jobs to having no job. And the economy was very much like it is today. High tax, high regulatory economy. Globalization was not invented in 2000. It was starting. We had in the 70s, we had higher energy costs. In those days, we were competing against Japan and Germany. And they were beating us economically. Today, it's China and India. And they are beating us economically. What we've got to do is we've got to become competitive. And competition works nationally, globally, and locally. We are not a competitive state. When you rank us in terms of the cost of doing business, we rank anywhere between 42nd and 47th place nationally when you compare us to other states. That's why young people are leaving the state of Massachusetts to find jobs. I have 4 children. 2 of them have graduated. 1 lives in New York. You know, 1 is trying and successfully has found a job, but who knows whether that job will be it. She's on her 2nd job, her 3rd job, and she's only been graduated from college for a little over a year. She wants to stay here, but I don't know if there's going to be opportunity for her, and I have 2 more that are graduating, and I imagine many of you are looking out and wondering, what's the future? What will the future hold? My goal is, for you as it is for my children, is to give them opportunity here in the state to stay. You may not want to stay. It's too cold, you know. You want to go to Florida, you want to go to California, but if you want to stay, we want to create opportunity for you. The second thing I want to do, besides lower the cost of doing business, that means lowering taxes and lowering some of the regulatory cost around hiring people in the business community, in small business, is I want to create an entrepreneurial tax relief plan. I started my own business when I was 22 years old, fresh out of BU with a political science degree. I opened a restaurant. You know why? It's not because I could cook. It's because I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job that fulfilled me, that challenged me, that was something that I felt I could make money in. So I opened my own business. I learned to cook. I relied on people who could cook. And we figured out how to do it. What I want to do is create an opportunity for anyone who wants to create their own business to give them tax relief in the first 3 years of that opportunity. Because that's the toughest 3 years. If you survive the first 3 years, you can be successful. You probably will be successful. We're not bringing in much tax revenue from people who are starting business in those first 3 years because most of them aren't making a profit. And you can only tax profit. You can't tax loss. So for the first 3 years of business, what I would propose is no income tax, no sales tax, and no unemployment tax to those people who start out with 1 employee up to 5, so that they can get an opportunity at the American dream that I got. And then after that third year, once you become successful, you make money, you pay taxes like everyone else. And I believe that plan will work. It's a difference in philosophy to the current governor, who believes that government should tell and help big businesses solve their problems and direct investment to those big businesses. Rather than focusing and putting all our eggs in one basket, I would like to spread those eggs out to thousands and thousands of baskets. Massachusetts used to be a hotbed of entrepreneurial activity. We used to be the Silicon Valley of the United States until that Silicon Valley moved west to California because we lost our competitive edge. We were fat and happy. But the history of Massachusetts is littered with success stories. And I'll just tell you one of them that I'm familiar with, Bill Rosenberg. Have anyone ever heard the name Bill Rosenberg? Probably the world's most successful entrepreneur that no one ever knows. He started Dunkin' Donuts. Back in 1946, he had one truck, one employee, and he served coffee and donuts to factories in Quincy, Massachusetts. That's how he started his business in 1946. Now has the biggest coffee and donut chain in the world. He's no longer here, but his business survives, not only creating tens or hundreds of thousands of jobs, but also creating millionaires because of the franchise system that he perfected that allowed people to own their own business using the Dunkin' Donuts name. That's what I want to inspire as a governor. Create those opportunities for people to build their own success. Because when people are successful, government then succeeds. We don't have to invest as much money because people are sending their portion of their investment to us. And it can never grow too high. Because at the end of the day, when you own your own business, you're working harder than you think is humanly possible. And you're willing to do it as long as there's a reward at the end. And if that reward is all going to government, it's not worth working for anymore. So we have to keep that balance. The third thing I would do to create jobs immediately would be to sign the casino bill that was passed in the legislature 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I would sign it the very first thing I do. For two reasons, because it will create 10 to 15,000 new jobs, additional jobs, and save jobs. I want to get it off the table. We've been debating casinos for 3 years now, and it takes up a lot of oxygen, and it keeps us from doing a lot of other things that I believe we need to do. But it will also bring in billions of dollars of investment here into Massachusetts. Create jobs and bring local aid money to cities and towns, at least $100 million. The way we have done it with the lottery over the past 30 years. In the last 7 years, or a little more than 7 years, we've returned over $7 billion to cities and towns with the profits on our lottery operation. By far the most money that goes back to cities and towns from any one agency. We've created value out of people's desire or need or want to gamble. And they're going to do it anyways. They're already going to Connecticut and Rhode Island. What I want to do is just create an opportunity for them to spend their money here. Because not allowing people to do that, to spend their money the way they want, in the kind of facilities that they would like to do, really is just not, I think, productive to growth here in Massachusetts. It would be like saying, if you want to shop at Walmart, you have to go to Connecticut to do it, because we don't like big box retailers. And a lot of people don't. I don't. I don't like to shop at Walmart, but my wife shops there all the time. We have 4 kids. We need to save money, especially if they're going to college. And that creates job opportunities for people. So I'm a believer in the American dream and individual initiative. I believe in order to achieve that goal, we've got to lower the cost of doing business, and if that means we have to create a smaller, more efficient government, then we do that. When the doctor introduced me, she talked about one of the successes of my 7 years as treasurer, the School Building Authority success. What we've proven to people, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that first of all, we can create a government plan program that works. We can build schools cheaper today than we did 5 years ago. We can save taxpayer dollars, yet still upgrade the facilities and the infrastructure that we need, making sure that our commitment to public education is a strong commitment, but making sure that we're not diverting money from teachers, from books, from the internals of education. And we've done it by being disciplined, by saying no. For the first 3 years of the program, virtually every mayor in Massachusetts hated me because I wouldn't say yes to them. I wouldn't allow them to build the schools that they wanted to build that have turned into Newton North, which is a $200 million high school that we can't afford and the taxpayers in Newton can't afford. I said, no, we can't continue on that path because we can't afford it. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think students need a $200 million high school. if a $50 or $60 million high school will do just as well. And now we're building 50, 60, and $70 million high schools all across the state. We're creating jobs, and we're saving the taxpayers money. And it's an example I used last night. I talked to John King because after the debate we were talking about the Scott Brown race and what it meant and how interesting it was and how I'm trying to duplicate it. But on January 19th, there were 2 elections in the town of Dedham. 1 election, 2 votes. One was for Scott Brown or Martha Coakley. It's a national election. The other was to pass an override to build a new elementary school in Dedham. Now, Dedham is a place that my mother grew up in. It's a place I worked in when I was Norfolk County Treasurer. I know it well. It's a Democratic, primarily a blue-collar Democratic town for the most part. On that day, on January 19th, 55% of the voters voted for Scott Brown, which means they were sending a message to Washington that they were not happy with what the status quo was. They wanted change. They wanted lower taxes. They weren't happy with Obamacare. All those things that I think that message sent was being sent to Washington by the people of Dedham, and they crossed party lines to do it, many of them. That same voter voted by 60 to 40 to spend more of their own tax dollars to build a school in their community, which showed me beyond a shadow of a doubt that people aren't selfish. They aren't angry. They're frustrated. They're frustrated with Washington, and they're frustrated with government that doesn't work. But if you show them that something works and you show them value, I've always been convinced of this, as long as I've been on the city council and been in politics, people will generally support you. You got to get in there and you got to convince them. We convinced them that this school was in their best interest. They knew it, and we put our money up front. We paid for our share of the school, so there was no question about how much value it was going to be for them. And it is the perfectly best time to build schools right now because costs are low. There's a lot of competition out there. There's nobody working. So we've saved the taxpayers of the state of Massachusetts almost $3 billion by paying for schools as we build them and paying down debt. We're building about $1.5 billion worth of public schools in the worst environment ever, and taxpayers are supporting us because they see value. And I believe, deep down, that that's what people expect of government. They want to see value. They want to see success. I believe I'm the only one in this race that has actually proven success over the last 7 years in state government. The governor's had 4 years, Mr. Baker had 8 years, but I've got a track record. We have the best lottery in the country, by far. #1 in terms of revenue, #1 in terms of revenue per capita, and the lowest expenses of any lottery in the country. We have people, lottery officials come from all over the world to visit us, to wonder how we do it, to study us, to see how it's done. And we produced over $7 billion, a profit that goes back to cities and towns over the last 7 years. We've got a school building authority that has saved taxpayers billions of dollars, that is now audited, and we're paying for schools as we build them, exactly the way we're not pushing this debt off into future generations. We're paying for it as we do it. And what we've done with our pensions to protect future retirees and to pay for the pensions of the people who are working in state government is add almost $18 billion to the bottom line by investing wisely, by taking less risk, and by spreading our risk around and diversifying, not putting all our eggs in one basket. All basic things that need to be done by government. And I hope I'll be able to do as your next governor. So I thank you for this opportunity to be here on this beautiful day, and I know that you would much rather be playing Frisbee or studying outside or doing anything other than being here and listening to a politician. But I thank you for showing interest, because the government that you elect on November 2nd will have a great impact on your lives, for better or for worse. This is a state school. My wife graduated from here back in 1976. It's a great school. You should be proud to be here. You're saving your parents and yourself money by being here, and you can take advantage of it. The best part of public higher education in the state is over 70% of graduates stay in the state once they graduate. I want to create opportunity for you. I want to create opportunity for you and for everyone else, for those in public school, for those who may not have gotten the opportunity to go to Harvard or to MIT, which are great schools, but they only help a small portion of people. And they don't make the difference in the state of Massachusetts. It's you that make the difference. And I want to create opportunity for people like yourself. Every generation owes it to the next to try to do better. My parents, neither one of them went to college. My father went to BU and dropped out after the first year. he made sure I went to school, my brothers and sisters went to school. And when I wanted to drop out of BU after my first year as a freshman, he said, hell no. And thank God he did. Thank God he did. Because that's close to doing it. Heading out to California, it was 1978. That's what everyone was doing in those days. Thank God he held me and told me, don't make the same mistake I've made, and I have made sure that my girls will never make that mistake. Finish what you start. That's the key in life, to finish what you start. That's why I'm in this race. I'm here to finish what I started 23 years ago when I first ran for the city council and was elected by 213 votes. I want to make my state better, just like I made my city better, just like I made my county better, like I've made the Treasury better. And I hope you'll give me that opportunity. Thank you very much.